What's up, everyone? War Eagle to my Auburn family. This is Caesar Walker, one fourth of the War Rapport crew, and I'm back again for the latest and greatest edition of the SEC Power Rankings. But before we get into that, guys, you know the drill. You can follow us on social media. We're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram at War Rapport. That's Rapport. Guys, also, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel where we're constantly trying to put out content throughout the week. So, any of you who have your needs to get plugged into latest and greatest information that we have related to Auburn football as well as college football, keep it locked here. We try to put out content throughout the week. Without further ado, let's get into it, guys. Week 13 is in the books. I called it Cupcake Week with the exception of a few major games. We had quite a few games in the SEC, but not a lot of movement in the power rankings. There were quite a few. We'll get into that. So, without further ado, let's get started. Coming in at number 14, guys, is Arky. Arkansas got drilled this past weekend against LSU. Uh, they're still without a coach. They're actually they have not won a conference game, I think, since 2017. It's over a 2-year drought in terms of winning a conference game. That last win, I think, came against Ole Miss. So this is a team that's desperate for a conference win. Probably won't get it this year. They don't have a head coach, so entrenched at number 14 and will probably remain there is Arkansas. That brings us to number 13 in Vandy. Vandy has been having a tough year. They actually had a cupcake this past weekend. I think it was East Tennessee State or something like that. They beat them thoroughly as they prepare to close out their season this upcoming week. Uh, been a tough year for Derek Mason, but Vanderbilt announced that he will be back next year, and they are one of the cellar dwellers in our conference this year. So at number 13 is the Vanderbilt Commodores. This brings me to number 12, South Carolina. It's been a tough year for them. They're 4-7. They got Clemson this upcoming weekend. You know, I understand that you can throw the record books out when it comes to rivalry games, but let's be clear here. This is Clemson. I don't see an upset here happening. I see them finishing 4-8. And Will Muschamp's seat is getting kind of hot. I don't know if he survives this year, but he's had a rough year and a season of highs and lows as well. So at number 12 are the Gamecocks, which brings me to number 11, Ole Miss. They're going to remain here just because they had a bye weekend this past weekend, if I'm not mistaken. They got Mississippi State coming up. This team has an opportunity to spoil Mississippi State's season and keep them from missing the bowl season. So it'll be interesting to see what they do this year or this Egg Bowl rivalry this upcoming weekend if they can pull the upset. But we'll see what they got. That brings me to number 10, and that's the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Uh, they're currently at 5-6. It's been a tough year for them as well. They've enjoyed reasonable success under the Dan Mullen era. Of course, we know he's at Florida now, so it's been tough for Moorhead this year. Bulldog fans have not been used to these kinds of struggles. So that being said, they still can get to the bowl season with a win over the Ole Miss Rebels. So I got them at number 10. We'll see what they do this upcoming weekend. Now that brings me to number 9, the Missouri Tigers. This has been kind of a disappointing year for Missouri. And they've had their fair share of highs and lows because they opened up the season with a loss on the road against Wyoming. It looked kind of iffy for them, and then they just went on a tear, winning, I think, 5 or 6 consecutive games, up until the point to where Kelly Bryant got injured, and then they just never looked the same. They just been struggling. They had this past game against not Kentucky, but Tennessee. I believe they lost 24-20 in a close battle there. Uh, they've just been kind of regressing as the season has gone on. And I've even heard rumblings about the head coach at Missouri if he will make it this season. So this year didn't go the way I'm pretty sure the Missouri Tigers had hoped. I know they're also, if I'm not mistaken, I think they have a bowl ban, if I'm not mistaken, this year. So it wouldn't have mattered much, but I'm pretty sure they wanted to have a decent regular season and it just didn't end the way that they wanted to. So at number 9 is the Missouri Tigers. Which brings me to number 8, the Kentucky Wildcats, who have had a pretty good year. They have an opportunity to finish the year strong at 7-5. They have a tough opponent in Louisville, which has had a pretty decent year as well. So it'll be interesting to see how they look this upcoming weekend against those guys. But they have an opportunity to finish really strong. Stoops has done a good job considering all the players that they lost last year off that team that won a lot of games for them. So he's done a remarkable job. They're already bowl eligible and have an opportunity to make it 7 wins, which is pretty good for Kentucky after the year they had last year. That brings me also to number 7, which is the Tennessee Volunteers. And while he may not be in talks for Coach of the Year due to how they started the season, you have to give Tennessee a lot of credit. You have to give the head coach a lot of credit. He's actually kind of have them going in the right direction. Got to give Jeremy Pruitt credit for that. They have an opportunity to win 7 games this year. They're bowl eligible with the win over Missouri this past weekend, and we'll see how they finish the season strong. And so, if they can turn it around, this will actually be, I think, a step in the right direction. I'm pretty sure Tennessee fans are hungry for uh, better days. They've had their fair share of bad days, but it looks like Pruitt may have figured some things out. That remains to be seen. But 7-5 compared to how the season started looks pretty positive considering for the Tennessee Volunteers. So they are the number 17 that I have on my power rankings. That brings me to number 6, Texas A&M. Texas A&M. Texas A&M impressed me. I can't lie. They impressed me a whole lot. They actually had an opportunity to actually pull it out on the road against Georgia. This is another team under Jimbo Fisher that has impressed me a lot. They just couldn't pull it out, and their schedule is really tough, and so their record may not necessarily reflect the improvements and the strides that they've made. Their defense looks pretty solid. Um, Offensively, they still got some things they got to work on. I think with their quarterback, he struggles with accuracy issues sometimes, kind of like Auburn's quarterback struggles. But I think once they begin to tweak some things offensively, this is a team that's going to be of concern. Jim Rose recruiting really well for them, and I know they have a tough game. I believe it's against LSU this upcoming weekend. That's going to be a tough game for them. Again, their schedule is like ours, really rough. But this is a team that I was impressed with them. Even in the 13-19 loss against Georgia, they showed me some things. And this is a team to be on the lookout. So at number 6 is A&M, which brings me to number 5 is my Auburn Tigers. Right now, I just think Auburn is the 5th best team in the SEC. They have an opportunity to say differently about that this weekend with the Iron Bowl. They square off against a team that's ranked ahead of them in the power rankings. We'll get to them later. We'll talk more about the Auburn Tigers and what we are seeing, what we expect as we do some pregame things later this week. But right now, I think Auburn has one of the best defenses in the nation. But when you start talking about the offensive side of the football, that's what causes Auburn to slide further down the power rankings, in my personal opinion. So yeah, that being said, they could potentially move up after this weekend with an Iron Bowl victory at home against Alabama. That remains to be seen. So with that, we move on. Number 4, the Florida Gators, aka the Swamp Lizards. Um, Another 10-win season for Dan Mullen. They're done with SEC play, so looks like they're pretty much, unless they have some type of colossal meltdown against FSU. I see this team. I see them finishing strong and getting in a New Year's Six bowl. Another good job from for Dan Mullen. I think once he figures out his quarterback situation, and not to get me wrong, Trask has played well this year. But once he gets a quarterback in there that can do some of the things that he really wants, because he likes a quarterback who can kind of run and throw. Trask was kind of a thrower. He was more of a pocket QB more so than a running threat. So once he gets a quarterback in there who can do some of the things that we saw him do at Mississippi State when he had Dak Prescott and Fitzgerald and quarterbacks of that nature, um, Florida's going to be a pretty dangerous team. They have a good defense traditionally. So in year two, getting them in a New Year's Six bowl game, double-digit wins again. He's off to a great start, and once the recruiting catches up and he gets the athletes in certain places that he wants them to be, look out for Florida. That brings me to number three, and that's the Updikes, Alabama Crimson Tide. Their number three would be higher, but we all know what happened a few weeks back with their quarterback Tua. It's the Mac Jones show. So we'll see. We'll see what he can do as he goes into Jordan Hare this upcoming weekend. Uh, this will be a big test for them. The world will be watching. A lot of programs and people will be rooting against Alabama because they're the first team in. The rankings were just released tonight, and Alabama is sitting at number 5, where they have been for a while since they've lost to LSU. So basically, it's Alabama has to win to stay alive in the playoff race and hope for LSU to beat Georgia, basically. So, you know, Alabama's defense is not what it has been traditionally. They've been depleted by a lot of injuries, and on both sides of the football. And it's because of that they have slid. They would have easily been the number 2 team in my power rankings, but I'm not quite sure if that's the case now with all of the injuries that face them. But they can hold steady at number 3 with the win over Auburn and Jordan Hare this upcoming weekend. So stay tuned for that as we preview the Iron Bowl. That brings me to number 2, the Georgia Bulldogs, aka the Leg Hunters. So this is a team that basically they took care of business against A&M. They were resilient. They struggled. They pretty much look like the vulnerable Georgia team that we've been seeing throughout the year at times. I mean, it burned them one week against South Carolina, and they struggled against us quite a bit. But this is a really good defense, guys, and that defense they're number 4. If I'm any team, if I'm LSU, any of these teams, I'm concerned about Georgia. They have a defense that really can cause problems for opposing teams' offenses. So it'll be interesting to see once Georgia goes to Georgia Tech. I don't foresee a trap game there or them stumbling against them. It'll be an intriguing matchup for the SEC championship to see them match up against LSU. Um, and I'm just curious to see how well uh, LSU can throw the ball on this defense. Georgia hasn't faced a lot of high-powered offenses. I guess you can say maybe I don't know about Notre Dame or Florida or teams that they play that have high-powered offenses, but their defense is going to get tested in the SEC championship, and I'll be eager to see what they do. And they have a quarterback in Fromm who can make plays where needed. So it'll be good to see what they do moving forward. That brings me to number 1. I got a new name for our new number 1. They're the Corn Dogs. Some of us know the reasoning behind their names, the Corn Dogs, and as how an Auburn fan once stated that a lot of LSU fans smelt like corn dogs. So they're the Corn Dogs moving forward. Nevertheless, they haven't played like some corn dogs. They've been dogs. Like they've been balling all year long. It's been an impressive year for them. Got to give them kudos, man. It'll be interesting to see if they can win out. And we've also talked in previous recordings that LSU may not have to win out. I mean, of course, they need to win their upcoming game this weekend, but if they lose close to Georgia, they're probably still in the playoffs. But of course, winning cures all. They have to continue to win, and they just look like prohibitive favorite. Um, they got bumped down to number 2 in the college football playoffs rankings, and so all they got to do is hold serve. I think they have a Heisman QB who's been tearing it up, and no one's been able to stop them or keep up with them. So again, as I mentioned previously when I was speaking about Georgia, it'll be interesting to see what LSU do and what kind of challenges Georgia poses for the passing attack of LSU. Because that's been one of the missing links for this LSU program for the past few years, and it seems finally unlock the key, crack that code, and they look virtually unbeatable at times. So at number one, to round out our Week 13 power rankings going into rivalry week, is the LSU Tigers. Guys, that does it for me. Stay locked here and continue to follow us again on our social media platforms, Twitter, Facebook, at the War Report. Guys, also, you can subscribe to us for additional content on YouTube. And guys, keep a lookout on us as we preview the upcoming Iron Bowl and the upcoming Week 14 big games. There's a lot of big games on the slate for Week 14. So we got a lot to talk about. All four of us should be around and ready to talk trash and give our opinions. So keep it locked here. Guys, that does it for me. Y'all have a great week and happy Thanksgiving and War Eagle.